Chapter 6: Shadows of Jakor Prime. The neon-lit underworld of Jakor Prime was a labyrinth of chaos. The sprawling metropolis floated above a toxic sea, its towers of rusted durasteel and flickering hollow signs shrouded in perpetual smog. Jakor Prime was a haven for criminals, bounty hunters, and exiled warlords, a place where danger lurked around every corner. Dax Solus stepped off his rented speeder onto a narrow platform overlooking the city's bustling lower levels. His armor, scarred from countless battles, caught the faint glow of passing speeders. At his side was Kira Voss, her casual attire hiding the slicer rig slung over her shoulder. Behind them, towering over both, was Tovak, a hulking Weequay mercenary who had joined Dax on a handful of jobs after a bar brawl that ended in mutual respect. "Remind me again why we're here," Kira said, adjusting the strap of her gear. "Because this feels like a job that's going to get us killed." "The Veiled Blade," Dax replied, his voice flat. "They contracted us to extract a high-value target from the Jakor Syndicate, a slicer named Dren Malix. He's got intel on Imperial movements in the Outer Rim." "And let me guess," Tovak rumbled, his deep voice laced with sarcasm. "The Syndicate doesn't want to part with him willingly?" Dax gave a faint nod. "They've fortified the warehouse where he's being held. Heavy security, automated turrets, and Syndicate enforcers. We need to get in, grab Malix, and get out before reinforcements arrive." Kira let out a low whistle. A Mandalorian, a slicer, and a Weequay walk into a Syndicate stronghold. Sounds like the start of a bad joke. "Focus," Dax said, his visor locking onto the warehouse in the distance. "We split up. Kira, you handle the security systems and disable the turrets. Tovak, you provide cover. I'll get Malix." "Of course you will," Kira muttered. "Why do you always get to be the hero?" "Because I'm the one they're paying," Dax replied, his tone leaving no room for argument. The infiltration. Kira's infiltration began smoothly. She scaled a nearby comms tower, her nimble fingers working quickly to splice into the Syndicate's network. As the turrets powered down, Dax and Tovak moved in, their approach masked by the chaotic hum of the city. The warehouse was a fortress, its perimeter guarded by patrols of heavily armed enforcers. Tovak led the assault, his blaster cannon roaring as he took down the guards with brutal efficiency. Dax moved like a shadow, his lightsaber carving through lock mechanisms and the occasional Syndicate thug who crossed his path. Inside, the warehouse was a maze of shipping containers and towering storage racks. Dax's HUD scanned for life signs, honing in on a small room near the center. There, shackled to a chair, was Dren Malix, a wiry Twi'lek with a cybernetic implant over one eye. "You're Dax Solus," Malix said, his voice trembling as Dax sliced through his restraints. "I've heard stories. Are you here to kill me?" "No," Dax replied. "I'm here to get you out. Try not to slow me down." As they made their way back toward the exit, the warehouse exploded into chaos. Syndicate reinforcements had arrived, flooding the building with blaster fire. Tovak held the line, his cannon cutting down waves of attackers, but the sheer numbers began to overwhelm him. "We've got a problem," Kira's voice crackled over the comms. "Reinforcements are coming in from the skywalks. I'm working on scrambling their comms, but I can't hold them off for long." "Hold position," Dax ordered. "We'll meet you at the extraction point." Malix stumbled behind Dax as they moved through the firefight. Dax's crimson blade blazed, deflecting bolts with precision as he cleared a path. But as they neared the exit, a Syndicate heavy trooper emerged, a rotary blaster spinning up to unleash a storm of fire. Before Dax could react, Tovak charged, using his massive frame to shield them. The heavy trooper's blaster tore into the Weequay's armor, but Tovak didn't falter. He roared as he fired his cannon, taking down the trooper in a burst of energy. "Tovak!" Kira shouted through the comms. "You're not bulletproof, you idiot!" "I'll live," Tovak growled, clutching his wounded side. "But I expect a raise." The escape. The group finally regrouped at the extraction point, a narrow landing pad on the edge of the city. Kira had hot-wired a Syndicate gunship, its engines humming as she prepped for takeoff. Dax, Malix, and Tovak piled in, blaster fire raining down from pursuing Syndicate forces. "Punch it!" Dax barked. Kira grinned, slamming the controls forward. The gunship roared to life, lifting off and weaving through the maze of Jakor Prime's skyline. Syndicate speeders gave chase, their lasers peppering the ship's hull. Dax moved to the rear turret, his gloved hands gripping the controls. He unleashed a hail of fire, taking out 2 speeders in quick succession. Tovak joined him, his cannon blasting the remaining pursuers from the sky. As the gunship broke free of the city's airspace, the tension in the cabin finally eased. Kira let out a breath of relief, glancing back at Dax. "Next time, we're charging triple." Dax didn't respond. He was already tending to Tovak's wounds, his stoic demeanor masking the faint flicker of concern in his movements. "You didn't have to do that," Dax said quietly. Tovak grunted. "That's what allies are for, right?" A bond forged in fire. The mission was a success, and the Veiled Blade paid handsomely for Malix's extraction. But for Dax, the credits weren't the only reward. In trusting his allies, he had forged something rare in the galaxy, a bond built on mutual survival and respect. As the gunship soared into the vastness of space, Dax leaned back, his helmet resting on his knee. For the first time in years, he felt something unfamiliar. A flicker of connection. A reminder of the unity he had once sought as a Mandalorian. But in the shadows, enemies were watching. Kaelith, the Sith apprentice he had spared, was closing in. And she wasn't coming alone.